What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the very first episode of the TCO Fantasy Football Show. Whoop! This is a show where I'm going to be talking about my fantasy football opinions and hopefully be hearing some of your fantasy football opinions as well. And we're just going to bounce off of each other and hopefully gain some fantasy football knowledge and hopefully win a championship, because that is the goal, to win a fantasy football championship. Okay, so let's get right into today's episode. On today's episode, we're going to be going over 3 running backs that I'm looking to get in 2022. And guess what? They're 3 guys who are really good value picks. And that's the best part about them, is their value. They are high potential, not high risk. And so what more could you ask for? So let's get right on into it. Okay, so the first guy that I'm looking to get, he plays for a football team. Actually, he plays for the football team. His name's Antonio Gibson. And let me tell you a little bit about Antonio Gibson and I's relationship. You see, I drafted this guy in every single one of my leagues. And you know what? He didn't play very good in the beginning of the season. So you know what I did? I traded him in every single one of my leagues. And was that a mistake? Yes, it was a mistake, because I got no value for him, and he decided the very next week that he wanted to get good, which was just a problem for me. But you know what? The past is in the past. We're moving forward. Antonio Gibson ended up finishing the season with 1,037 yards, 258 attempts, which is 4th in the league for most attempts, 7 rushing touchdowns, and 4 yards per carry, which is, middle of the pack. Room for improvement is what I'm going to call it. And so let me tell you why I think Antonio Gibson is going to make a big jump this upcoming year. The number one reason, J.D. McKissic. I think J.D. McKissic is going to leave, and Jarrett Patterson is going to move into that number 2 role. And so if J.D. McKissic leaves, that's going to leave so many empty targets for Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson had 52 targets this year. That's a lot of targets for a running back. But guess what? What if it turns into 75? 100 targets? We're talking about a running back here who could return immense value. And guess what? I think we're going to be able to get him in the second round. And if we can get him in the second round, I think we're getting RB1 value for a running back who we're drafting in the second round, who should be a first rounder, to be honest, who could potentially be a top 5 running back. This year, we thought this was the year. And guess what? Maybe we're just a little early. Maybe it's like the situation with Cooper Kupp. Everybody said last year that Cooper Kupp is going to be the guy. Cooper Kupp's going to be amazing. And guess what? He wasn't that good. He was kind of mid. Then, nobody said anything this year, and Cooper Kupp did amazing. So guess what? I think the same exact thing is going to happen with Antonio Gibson. And that is why I am trying to get him in every single one of my leagues this upcoming year. Oh, and guess what? He's got another big thing going for him. Who's Antonio Gibson's quarterback right now? Taylor Heineke? Ryan Fitzpatrick? Is that even a real quarterback? I mean, okay, let me not put that disrespect on Fitzmagic. But Taylor Heineke is not an amazing quarterback. And what if the Washington football team goes out there and grabs him a good quarterback that can really open up the offense? That is going to be just a whole nother plus to Antonio Gibson. And so there are really big things that can happen for him. But there are also big things that can't happen. Like maybe we get into a bad situation here where J.D. McKissic doesn't leave and Taylor Heineke is still the quarterback and we're in the same exact situation. Then yes, this is not true. Everything I'm saying, he's not worth a second round pick. He's a waste of time. But if something does change, he can be amazing. And that's why I want him this upcoming year, because I can see a lot of potential for improvement. And that's why I want Antonio Gibson. Okay, so this next guy I'm trying to get is a super value pick. This guy is going to be going in the 4th, maybe the 5th round. It's going to be about the same exact place Josh Jacobs went this past year. Do you want to know who it is? It's Elijah Mitchell. Elijah Mitchell is one of the most captivating running backs that I have seen in a while. And let me tell you why. Listen to these stats. 963 yards, 207 attempts, 4.7 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns, and he's averaging a little bit over 87 yards per game. But you know what? It only happened in 11 games. He played 11 games this year and got 960 yards. That is like crazy. If he played 6 more games, we could be talking about a 1,200, 1,300 yard running back. He finished 8th in the league in rushing yards. and only played like 3/4 of the games. That's crazy. Less than 3/4. And so I am super high on Elijah Mitchell this year. And you know what? You know why nobody else is talking about him? Because he's standing like this. He's standing in the shadows of Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel is just this great player, and I love Deebo Samuel. But I also love Elijah Mitchell. Elijah Mitchell's great, and nobody's talking about him because everybody's too obsessed with Deebo Samuel. And you know what? You can't be obsessed with one guy. You got to be obsessed with multiple guys to win fantasy football, and that's what we are. We're obsessed with Elijah Mitchell. I love him, and I think he's going to provide a great value pick for you. If you can get him in the 4th or the 5th, what are we talking about here? An 87-yard running back? We're talking about a good Josh Jacobs. We're talking about potentially an RB1 or a high-end RB2 at the worst. That's great. And so I am going out in every single one of my leagues this upcoming year, and I'm getting Elijah Mitchell. I don't care if I even have to take him in the 3rd. I think he is worth that value. And I love the kid. I really think that he's talented, and I really think that he's being overshadowed right now by Deebo Samuel. And so, if you can get him in the 4th or the 5th, good job. You did really well. And so, Elijah Mitchell, the number 2 guy for me. Okay, so the last guy that I'm looking to get hasn't really played football in a while. Well, actually, that's kind of a lie. He did just play football in the playoffs, and he looked amazing. You probably already guessed it. It's Cam Akers. How can you not love this kid? He just had one of the most serious Achilles injuries we've seen, and he came back in the same season? Oh my goodness. This kid is resilient, and did you see him out there? You can 110% tell that the Achilles injury's healed. He's running and he looks great. He's catching passes and looks great. He just looks all around like the guy. And so I am super excited for Cam Akers this next season. And let me tell you why. Darrell Henderson and Sony Michel. What are they? What do they have in common? They are both mid running backs. They are both mid-tier running backs. But guess what? The second that they became the starting running back for the Rams, both of them became top 10 options. So imagine if we put somebody back there with the talent of Cam Akers. Oh my goodness. We could be looking at the next Todd Gurley here. And that's what I'm drafting him as. I think Cam Akers is going to have a season to remember this next year. I think this is the Achilles comeback year is what I'm going to call it. And I am super high on him. And guess what? Guess what? He's not going to be a top 5 pick. Maybe he'll be a top 10 pick. I doubt it. He's probably going to be a 2nd round pick because everybody's worried about the Achilles injury, which they have a good reason to be worried. But you know what? If you're willing to take that risk, I think you're taking the risk of getting a young running back who could be the number 1 running back. And so with me, personally, if I'm drafting a running back, I'm not drafting an older guy. I'm not drafting CMCs. Derrick Henry's an exception because he's Derrick Henry. But I'm not drafting Dalvin Cooks. I'm not drafting Zekes. I'm not drafting Saquons. I'm drafting the young guys because the young Bucks have proven lately that they can come into the league and show up and show out. And so Cam Akers is going to be going into his 3rd year. And you know what? It's really his 2nd year. And you know what? His 1st year he didn't even really play. So maybe this is kind of like his 1st year. And so I'm really excited to see what Cam Akers has in store for this upcoming season. And I'll be drafting him, and I'll take him in the 1st round. I think he's definitely worth a 1st round pick. I'm willing to take him there. Imagine pairing him with someone. Cam Akers and, I don't know, a good wide receiver up there as well. Maybe you get a Devontae Adams or a Tyreek Hill somewhere in the back of the 1st, early 2nd. It's interesting. It's very interesting. And so I think Cam Akers is going to bring out some great value this upcoming season, and I really like him. Him and Elijah Mitchell are definitely at the top of my list, with Antonio Gibson being right here next to him. And so that's my 3rd guy. Alrighty, so let's do a quick summary real quick. The first guy I talked about was Antonio Gibson, a running back who could potentially have his breakout year this year and continue moving forward from what he did at the end of this year. My number 2 guy, Elijah Mitchell, the man standing in the shadows who is going to have a breakout year as well. Deebo Samuel hopefully falls back a little bit, and Elijah Mitchell comes out and says, hey, what's going on? My third guy was Cam Akers, the man who battled against one of the worst injuries we've seen in forever and looks absolutely fantastic. Those are my three guys that I'm looking to get. And so, I think that's all I got for you guys for today. Thank you for watching the very first episode of the TCO Fantasy Football Show. Please feel free to leave some comments down below about some topics we could talk about on future episodes. I'm here, and I am ready to help you guys as well as help myself. And we just want to stay out here and have fun and gain some more fantasy knowledge. So, that's all I got for you guys. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for watching the TCO Fantasy Football Show. Have a wonderful day.